Mike Woodson better fix the problems with Indiana basketball, or else.
You are Locked On Hoosiers, your daily podcast on the Indiana Hoosiers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in, and it's the Locked On Hoosiers podcast. I'm your man, Jacob Goins. I appreciate you making Locked On Hoosiers your first listen each and every day. Today's episode is brought to you by LinkedIn. These days, every new potential hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. That's why LinkedIn Jobs helps find the right people for your team faster and for free. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. Terms and conditions apply. I appreciate you making Locked On Hoosiers your first listen each and every day. Thank you so much for being a subscriber. If you have on YouTube, if you haven't, hit the button. It's free, helps it share, helps it get out there. So does liking the video as well. You can also subscribe, turn on notifications wherever you get your podcasts. We're free and available on any audio platform. Dealing with a little bit of a sickness kind of going around, isn't it? So bear with me here. We're going to get through this. A lot to talk about on the show today. We're going to look at what Mike Woodson had to say following the Indiana-Penn State game on Saturday, the embarrassing loss for the Hoosiers. Also, I'm excited to get to this segment, what you had to say following the Indiana and Penn State loss. Lots of information there. And Mike Woodson for Indiana basketball. He better fix the issues with this team. Why? Because I think his job's in jeopardy right now. I really do. Do I think his job is in jeopardy as of right now this season? No, probably not. But when we get to the segment about where you are, where we are as fans, man, people are not happy. And I don't know an Indiana fan right now from talking to people over the weekend and talking to family, talking to friends, listening and reading what you guys have to say. I don't know any Indiana fan that's happy with what Mike Woodson's doing right now. I don't know a single fan that is like, I really do think Mike Woodson's doing a great job. I don't know anybody saying that. Do you? I haven't heard anybody say that. And it's because of things that happened on Saturday. It's because of situations just like that, where you win against Iowa, you look okay doing it. Yeah, you're banged up. You haven't played a full healthy game since the beginning of the year, right? And you come into a game where you're like, all right, we got to start building some of this momentum, right, that I've been talking about. It's time to beat a Penn State team that we're just better than, and you let them come in there and run you out of your own gym, 85-71. And I don't know what's more disappointing, the fact that you only scored 71 or the fact that you gave up 85. I'm going to go on that side of things. Defensively, this team's just lazy. They're a lazy defensive team. They don't go after loose balls. They don't go after the rebound. They give up open threes. And, man, even for a Penn State team that shoots 30% from behind the arc as a team on the season, guess what? They're college athletes. They're Division I basketball players. You give them an open shot, they're going to knock it down eventually. And so it's things like that for me in this team, coached by Mike Woodson, that really just get us upset and frustrated, right? And those are the things he has to get fixed. The defensive IQ, the stagnant offenses, not pushing in transition, no adjustments throughout a 40-minute basketball game. Those things can't happen if you want to be A, any type of high-level college basketball coach, but B, a coach here at our place at Indiana. And look, he's got to get that fixed somehow. And, I don't fully put this on Mike Woodson. I also put this on his coaching staff too, because there's a lot of big-name guys on that staff, right? He has filled that out over his short time here, and there are some big names there and some good coaches, but, man, nothing is changing. Nothing is happening. I've said this numerous times. This Indiana team, despite all the injuries, they are the same team they were against Florida Gulf Coast all the way back in game one that they were in this game against Penn State over the weekend. That's not okay. That's not okay. I think there maybe is one player who has somewhat gotten better over the year, and that's Mackenzie Mgbako, just because he's got the raw talent, raw ability as a McDonald's All-American freshman. But Kel'el Ware, I mean, he's still good, obviously, but nothing's really changed there. Malik Renew, same thing. He's still good, but nothing's really changed there. Guard play, if you can believe it, maybe has taken a step back somehow this season with the injuries to Xavier Johnson just continuing to pile on. Trey Galloway taking a major step back this year, in my opinion, and then nobody coming off the bench to be able to help this team. That's one of the biggest issues here, is there's nothing coming off the bench for you right now, and for us as Indiana. So what do you do? What do you do if you're Mike Woodson? How do you fix this? And, I've seen a lot of you talk about, well, he's just not the guy. We thought this was going to be the saving grace. We thought this was going to be the right fit, and it's just not working out. We thought this was going to be the next big thing since Coach Knight, and it's just not happening. And look, it's been a long time since Indiana basketball has been really, really in that top national conversation for a championship. And I saw somebody else say this, and we're going to get to all your thoughts on the video in the last episode because, man, you guys had some things to say, let me tell you. But I think this one thing that I've seen pretty consistently is extremely true. Last year, all of these sorts of issues, the coaching problems that we have right now with Mike Woodson, they were covered up by two NBA players on the roster, by Jalen Hood-Schifino and Trayce Jackson-Davis. They were covered up last year because those guys were just so freaking good. They just went out and won you basketball games. They single-handedly got you to the NCAA tournament. You would then get some help from Trey Galloway and other players like that, where all of these bad things were just kind of covered up. And the question now becomes, how do you overcome that? Because the Hoosiers, we still got good players. We still have good players, but we don't have those guys. And this is something we should be worried about, because while we brought in Kel'el Ware through the transfer portal, I don't have to tell you this about college sports. The transfer portal giveth and the transfer portal taketh. And the Hoosiers have to be careful right now, because you don't want to lose the little bit of talent that you have. Yeah, you've got Liam McNeely coming in as a McDonald's All-American, but you're not bringing in a ton right now. And Indiana has to find a way to save the talent that they have. But I put all of this on Mike Woodson. He better get this figured out, because Hoosiers fans, most of us want him out. And I'm not saying I'm there yet, but I think a lot of you are. A lot of you are right now. Indiana still owes him a pretty good chunk of change, so I don't think they're going to make that change just yet. But those conversations are about to start being had if things don't get better, because we're not making the tournament right now. And that's not okay here. That's not okay with this program. I'm sorry. It's just not. And he better get it figured out, or else he will eventually be fired. And then we're going to be right back to square one looking for a new head coach. Well, coming up on Locked On Hoosiers, we'll take a look at what you have to say following the Indiana and Penn State loss. Man, there are some fired up fans, and rightfully so, right? Then later on in the show, we'll take a look at what Mike Woodson had to say, some of his comments following that double-digit loss at home to Penn State. All that coming up here on Locked On Hoosiers. Today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers is brought to you by LinkedIn Jobs. When you're hiring for your small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the role. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. LinkedIn isn't just another job board. LinkedIn has a vast network of more than 1 billion professionals, billion with a B, which makes it the best place to hire. It gives you access to professionals you can't find anywhere else. LinkedIn does all that while making the process easy and intuitive. LinkedIn knows that small businesses are wearing so many hats and might not have the time or resources to hire. 2.5 million small businesses use LinkedIn for hiring. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Welcome back into Locked On Hoosiers. I appreciate you making this your first listen each and every day. Your go-to spot for all things Indiana athletics. Well, I've been looking forward to this segment since Saturday afternoon, and not because Indiana lost. I obviously wanted us to win the game, but I knew we were going to be fired up as a fan base. And I think this has been a successful segment. I hope that you're enjoying this, and hopefully you get kind of called out in a good way, right? I go through some of your comments on our latest YouTube video, our latest episode over the weekend. It was our bonus episode talking about the loss for Indiana basketball to Penn State. You guys loved it. It blew up on YouTube, so thank you so much for that. And there are a lot of fired up people in the comments. So I'm going to read through some of these, kind of talk about and kind of respond to them, because there's a lot of different takes, but everybody's kind of in the same boat. It's right here with Mike Woodson and this team, man. Something's got to change. The very first comment on the bottom, and a lot of these said, looking for Coach Woodson. This one says, Coach, please leave on your own. I'm tired of your excuses and tired of your inability to improve the team in 3 years. And again, I think that's where a lot of people are, right? Is not what has changed. What has changed in these 3 years almost that he's been here, especially this season where there's just not been a lot of improvements, right? And the question that I posed on the last episode was, is the season over? And there's a lot of yeses in here. This one says, fire Woodson. Okay. This one, General Zod 7959 says, yes, the season is over. They won't make any postseason beyond the Big Ten tournament. Says the team is trash and they'll be lucky to win more than 3 more games all season. They'll flush out in the first round in the Big Ten tournament. And, you know, there's a lot of people that are saying you're only going to win 2 or 3 more games for Indiana. And it's hard to argue that, right? It's really hard to argue that, because now you have back-to-back road trips in the Big Ten, something Indiana has not been able to do this season. And they have not won on the road all season in conference play. So you're going to go and try and do something you've never done before at Ohio State and then at Purdue, the number 2 team in the country, after they just went on the road and beat a top 10 Wisconsin team. Yeah, good luck. Home versus Northwestern, tournament team. Home versus Nebraska, potential tournament team. At Penn State, you couldn't beat them at your place. Home versus Wisconsin, okay. At Maryland, at Minnesota, not good teams, but still road teams. And then home versus Michigan State, trying to become a tournament team. So, yeah, I think it's very fair to say, yeah, we're not winning more than 2 or 3 games, because it's really hard to go find those wins on that schedule right now. Let's see. Lawrence Reynolds says it's over. Bad coaching, very bad. Straight, simple, to the point. I'm with you, man. I'm absolutely with you. This person says, this is what happens when you start buying players with the highest rankings with no regard for fit. Ware has gone to the draft, and Mgbako is either going to do an NBA Hail Mary or transfer. And that's an interesting take, because, look, Mike Woodson, believe it or not, when you keep up with recruiting, he's going after big name players, right? He's going after the biggest 5 stars in the country, which that's what you have to do to compete in college basketball. We've got Liam McNeely coming in, trying to go get Derek Queen, trying to go get a lot of these big time players, right? But does Indiana necessarily need the highest rated player out there? I don't think so. I really don't. It's not just about, hey, who's the best player we can get? We'll mold him into us. Sometimes you got to go get a player that you don't have to completely mold and that they fit your style of play. But the bigger question is, what the hell is Mike Woodson's style of play? I still can't figure it out. I don't know. They pound the ball inside because you've got Kel'el Ware, Malik Renew, but other than that, the offense is stagnant. There's no transition, and the defense runs all over the place and doesn't know what they're doing. So maybe they should just go after the top players and hope it works out. He also says Ware has gone to the draft. Maybe he definitely could test it out. Mgbako either going to do an NBA Hail Mary, which I don't think so, or transfer. And I think that's the bigger possibility out of the two for sure for Mackenzie Mgbako. I hope not. And I hope he hangs around. I hope he plays it out. I think he will. But in today's age, you just never know, especially with NIL as big as it is. I mean, that's something you have to be concerned with. Lots of yes, the season is over. This person says, this is Jim Owens 381, says, my prediction for the rest of the season is 2-7, which means they finish the season 15-16, not even good enough for the NIT. And the comment underneath that says, my question was if we'd finish 500. It's a great question because Indiana's 13-9, and you've definitely got 4 losses on here. I say Purdue, Northwestern, Wisconsin, Michigan State. Then can you split the rest of Ohio State, Nebraska, Penn State, Maryland, Minnesota? I mean, I just don't know, man. It really is hard to find some wins on that schedule. This person says the season is over if you want to watch good basketball from IU. I think you're probably onto something there. Said lots of other just season's over. Woodson is proving he's not capable of coaching at the college level. The skill and leadership of Jackson Davis helped. Here's what I was talking about earlier. The skill and leadership of Jackson Davis helped mask many of the coaching problems during years 1 and 2. These remaining games may get extremely ugly as IU will be underdogs in all of them. And there's a really good chance of that. There's a really, really good chance that Indiana is an underdog in pretty much all of their upcoming games and the remaining games. And that's where you've got to be able to overcome that and find some sort of spark to give this team some life, give this fan base some life, and try to finish this thing out right. Because even if you start winning games, I just don't know if you can build a resume up enough to get to the NCAA tournament. Maybe if you win games in the regular season and put together some wins in the Big Ten tournament, maybe. But as I've been saying, what have we seen up to this point that gives us any confidence that's going to happen? I don't have any. I know you don't. I know you don't. So this guy says, and this is an interesting one. He says, I believe it was over the day they fired Coach Knight. It's like a sense it brought a plague over Indiana basketball that's still upon them, a punishment of sorts. It's just never been the same. And as much as everyone, including myself, wants it to return to that level, I don't know if it ever will. And that's more of a doom and gloom comment. Man, I don't think that way. I really don't. I know it's been tough since then, but that's been a while, right? That's been a while. And it's going to get back to that point. But college basketball, it's harder than ever to win with transfer portal, with the NIL. That's just college athletics, right? It's as hard as it's ever been to win in this sport. So it's going to get back there. I believe that, and I think you should as well. A couple of other ones really quickly here. We have Penn State fans in our comments. We have Purdue fans. How about this? Chris Fuller, 24, says, as a Boiler fan, I feel bad for y'all. All that talent and put on a subpar performance. Woodson is not the coach for you. I think that's all we need to know. I think that's all we need to hear, right? Our biggest rivals even notice how bad it is over here. Opposing fan bases are seeing how bad it is over here. They understand this is not the norm in Bloomington. They understand this is not what's supposed to be happening in Bloomington, Indiana at Assembly Hall, right? They understand. So that's really where we can leave it is, hey, Coach Woodson, opposing fans understand that you are sucking at your job right now. We've got to get this thing turned around. And it could get ugly in a hurry down the stretch of this season. And then at that point, yeah, that seat's going to be on fire because Indiana fans are already calling for his job. Well, coming up in our final segment, we'll take a look at what head coach Woodson had to say. We got through some of what you had to say, what he had to say following the Indiana and Penn State game, the loss for the Hoosiers on Saturday. That's coming up on Locked On Hoosiers. Today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers is also brought to you by FanDuel. With FanDuel right now, be sure with the, happy big game week, by the way. Happy Super Bowl week for all who celebrate. So FanDuel, you can do that, who is America's #1 sportsbook. If you're like me, Super Bowl Sunday is all about scoring the best seat on the couch, grabbing your favorite football snacks, and placing some super bets. Who do you have? Who you got this weekend, huh? Super Bowl Sunday coming up. You got the Niners or you got the Chiefs? Let me know down in the comments if you're on YouTube, or you can tweet at us at Locked On Hoosiers, because you better be sitting there, you better be cheering for somebody, and you better have the FanDuel app open like I will. FanDuel has so many ways for you to end the season with a W or 2 or 3. Not only can you bet on who will win Super Bowl 58, but FanDuel also has bets for which players will score a touchdown, how many points will be scored, and so much more. New customers join today, and you'll get $200 in bonus bets if your first bet of $5 or more wins. Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to sign up. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Final segment here on Locked On Hoosiers. I appreciate you making this your first listen each and every day as we take a look at what Mike Woodson had to say following the bad loss over the weekend to Penn State. And we always try to do this and see what Coach has to say. And sometimes he gives good answers, and sometimes he gives that typical coach speak. And look, I think we're tired of that, man. I really do. I think we're all tired of it. So I keep looking to see if I can find anything in here, and we're going to see if we can do that for you here today. First question, defending three-pointers. I went into that game, and I will take full credit. I was wrong as can be, right? I said Penn State's a bad three-point shooting team. Give up those shots, crash the paint, make them beat you from the outside. Well, that's exactly what happened. And here's what Coach Woodson had to say. He said, well, in this conference, we have been guarding the three pretty well. It's an indication that we've defended the three pretty well. Okay. I just thought tonight, second half, we were so flat coming out. Yeah. And it wasn't just tonight, Coach. This is a problem every single game. I don't know how you haven't figured that out yet. Get your guys up. Get your guys ready to play, man. It's unbelievable. It's unacceptable. I mean, and here, so we continue the quote. He says, something I hadn't seen. What? What? You hadn't seen that? You haven't been around when your team comes out and just gets destroyed in the first 5 minutes of the second half? What? He said, I look at their first possession to start the second half, and they got a 3, 4 cracks at it, but we couldn't come up with loose balls or rebound. You're right about that. I mean, it was like we were a step slow and kind of disappointed because you play a good game against Iowa, and then you come back and basically lay an egg. What in the world is he talking about? What do you mean that's the first time you've seen this team come out flat in the second half? I can name 10 different games where this team came out flat in the second half. And I would say that out of those 9 losses, I would say 4 or 5 of them have to do with that factor right there. The fact that you had a lead or you were in the game at the half, and then you just came out and let them take advantage of you in the first 5 to 6 minutes. So, come on, Coach. I talked about the press a little bit, the effort in the second half. He brought this back up. He said, I want more fire. I mean, yes, I want more fire to my guys. They didn't fight tonight in the second half, and that's kind of disappointing. So we have to go back to work and see if we can work our back and work back, because, I mean, that's a game that I thought if we played well, we had a legitimate chance to win. You should have won. And he says, I thought we did play well early on, and we just had too much slippage defensively in the second half. And you know what that's on? You know what that's on? That's on coaching. Yeah, it's on the players. Be better. You should want to be in this game. You should want to play harder in this game. But that's on a coaching staff to get your guys ready. Okay, let's make the adjustments in the second half. We're going to come out and run these set of plays, almost like the first scripted drive in a football game, right? Where you get the ball and you've got a set of 10 plays that you're just going to start running, bang, 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 to get down the field and try to get something stirred up coming out of the locker room. You can do the same thing in basketball. You can come out and say, all right, we're going to run these first few plays. We're going to get a couple of stops, and we're going to make a little run to start the first 20 minutes or the second 20 minutes. And we're going to start on defense. We're going to get this stop. We're going to run this play. We're going to make this bucket. We're going to get on a roll. Indiana doesn't do that. They don't have any fire like he was talking about. They don't have any of that oomph to them where they're excited to play the second 20 minutes. They play the first half. They're like, all right, we're done. We're good. Win, lose, tie, doesn't matter. We're good. We're fine. You guys come out and have fun in the second half. That's on coaching, man. And in the middle of that second half, get them fired up. Light a fire under them, man. Do something to get them going. I put a lot of that on the players, but that's mostly on coaching. He talked about trends that have led to performances this season. He said, we've had our ups and our downs, no doubt about it. He said, but I look at the points. You gave up 85. You're not beating anybody in the Big Ten doing that. You're exactly right about that, Coach. He said, that's not us. You know what I mean? He said, you have a chance when you're trying to hold teams to 65 under in the Big Ten. And when we've done that, we've been pretty successful, which is what I've talked a lot about on this show is Indy, especially with this Indiana team, we can't score 85 points against Big Ten teams. Just doesn't happen, right? So we can't get in running guns. We cannot get in shootouts with other teams. We have to hold them in the 60s and low 70s because that's where we score. And you didn't do that. Not only did you give up 85 points in the Big Ten, you gave up 85 points in the Big Ten to one of the worst teams in the conference. Not only did you do that, you didn't do that on the road in their place. You let them do that at your place. And that's just not okay. It's embarrassing. It is. And from what I hear yet again, yeah, he understands there's issues, but there's no way he's not giving up anything to fix it. And nothing has changed, which is why I think his job's on the line coming down the road. Do I think it is right now? No, I don't. I don't think they're going to fire him right now. I don't think they're going to fire him after the season, but this would end up making for a really, really crucial 2024-2025. And I hope we can finish out this year the right way. I hope things can change and get better. But Mike Woodson, man, got to make some changes, got to make some improvements here down the stretch if he wants to just hang around here in Bloomington. Well, that's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers. I appreciate you making this your first listen each and every day. We'll have an episode for you tomorrow. We will be talking about Indiana and Ohio State on the road in Columbus, a game we have got to have. We'll have a whole preview episode going up for you tomorrow, and then we'll have reaction episodes going up for you, and then Purdue coming up this weekend. So lots of great content coming here on the show. So like the video, subscribe on YouTube if you have not already. You can subscribe on your audio platforms where we are free and available wherever you get your podcast. Turn on notifications, and until tomorrow, Hoosier fans, stay safe, and I'll talk to you later.